having questions like, if I die today, will anybody care? If I'm here, I'm not here. Actually, nobody says. Those could be societal ideations. Are you having a conversation within you to commit suicide? Or are you looking at somebody that has been troubled with so many issues of life, and now they're contemplating suicide? Well, we're able to give you more information and knowledge about this particular topic, because this afternoon we are discussing, is suicide linked to mental health issues? That is our topic this afternoon. And of course, it being a Junior Friday, we're going to have a very exciting and interesting conversation. This particular afternoon, I'm joined by a very special and very articulate individual by the name of Esther Mate, who is at the same time a mental health advocate. Esther, welcome to the Check-In TV show.
Thank you for having me on
You are
the
no
show.
stranger to this particular TV show, I know.
Yeah, it's good to be back. It really is.
I know we are glad that you made time to come through and just, have this conversation with me this particular afternoon.
Yeah, it's a good
Yeah.
conversation to have, yeah.
My co-host is not here, but of course, I'm going to make this conversation very interesting so that when she comes, you'll be like, did you do all these things without me?
Yeah, it will be fun. I look forward to having more of a conversation around mental
Yeah.
health.
What have you been up to?
Well, personally, I've been into, we have school, I have school. In my final year now.
Oh,
and
great.
then getting into community work, outreach programs. That's mostly where my forte these days. So yeah, those kind of things.
Yeah, you sound smart when you say all those things.
Oh my God.
Of course, you
Those-
are smart, but like you really, really sound smart when you say that.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's not much, but it is something to be busy with. So that's just the little stuff I can share that I've been up to. Yeah.
Okay. Before we zoom into the topic we have in this particular afternoon, I'd like to hear your thought on the topic that we're having,
Okay.
which is basically a question, but don't answer the question. I want to hear your
My thoughts.
the
around it.
thought on it. What do you think about the topic, which is suicide linked to mental health issues?
Well, you can't do away with, you can't separate the two really, because at the end of the day, suicide is a mental problem. It is like an emotional thing. And when we talk about mental health, we are talking about someone's well-being. And for someone to contemplate, suicide, something is not right with them. With like life must be hard, or there are situations that they're going through that have triggered this type of emotion. So you can't really do away. Like you can't talk about suicide without bringing out the aspect of mental health, and you can't talk about mental health without taking into account that there are people that are going through several issues like mental health. Like suicide. So yeah, that's my take on it. They're really linked to each other. So it's good to bring them on board together and see how the other can impact the other as well.
Do you think it's very important for us this particular time to have a conversation on this particular topic?
Yes, it is. When we had the COVID and people were back home and life had stopped for a bit and people had to do a lot of self-introspection, that's when they got to realize to say like, oh, I have issues, and then when you go with life every day, day-to-day life, you need to be in a really good mental health state to function daily, to hold a life, to have relationships, to have a job. Even with school as a student, if I am not doing well mentally, I'm not able to be my very best. Even with my own physical health, it's really hard. So your mental health encompasses and drives the other aspects of your life. So it's really important that we do have these conversations right now.
I like that.
Yeah.
With what you've said, I'm going back to the definition of what mental health is, and you've touched on different aspects. The physical aspect, the emotional aspect, the social aspect. All these things are very important for a person to be, mentally okay. Because if your social aspect is not, okay,
Yeah.
it simply means your mental health will not be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all these aspects need to be okay for you to be okay. Yeah. Perhaps now we zoom into the topic we have in this, afternoon.
Yeah.
Can you tell us, or can you discuss the correlation or link between mental health and societal behavior?
Well, with mental health, we do know mental health has to do with individuals' well-being and all that. So when people have underlying mental health issues like anxiety, depression, and all those type of things, it's like it kind of leads or it fosters the environment for suicidal thoughts, you know. So if someone is not doing well mentally, they do not have a really good mental health, it's they're more likely to entertain or go through the process of contemplating suicide and taking action on those thoughts. So, and it actually, studies have shown that people that are dealing with mental health issues are more likely to commit suicide than people that are in a better state mentally, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the correlation is quite huge.
Okay. So do you think mental health illnesses are the leading cause of suicide cases or people, committing suicide?
Yeah, they are. Because, you know, with mental health issues, when you're unable to perceive life as it is and your reality is distorted, you're more likely to want to escape that life. And the best solution people with mental health issues have is, oh, I can take my own life. Because at that point, they're not functioning as they should. Yeah, so it's a really big issue when you look at it like that, and you see the importance between mental health and how mental health issues have an impact on someone coming to the point of actually saying, "Look, I'm going to commit suicide."
Yeah. And I want us to also delve into that part where people begin to, have to develop this idea of committing suicide. What is really running through their mind at a particular time? I would like us to, to go to that. But before we go to that, I think it's important for us to also look at the other aspects. Of course, mental health illnesses can be the leading cause of, suicide. But that is not the ultimate answer. We have other issues that can also lead to that, which are among them could be drug abuse.
Yeah.
What's your comment on that?
So with drug abuse, it's also one of those issues that can lead to people going and thinking suicide is a solution. Why are people going into drugs? Why are people taking alcohol? Now that's where mental health comes in. Because
Exactly.
if someone is doing these things to numb feelings, to not process certain traumas, to get through and just not deal with things, then that's a mental health problem. Because if you are suffering from anxiety, depression, you have schizophrenia, it's borderline disorders and all those things, mood swings, and you take to alcohol and substance abuse, it's like you're trying to deal with the problem by numbing it, and at the end of the day your reality is distorted because nothing is making sense, and the only escape is, let me take my life because I can't handle this life. So with there's all these connections with life, and it's the same thing when people are going through hard times that they cannot process or they can't see a way out of. The first thing they think about is, look, it's not really the first thing, but some of the thoughts that come in is, I can take my own life and I can end this and it's done and it just stops.
Yeah.
So I think the ideology behind suicide and linking it to mental health and substance abuse is, why are people going into these things? Why is someone abusing drugs? Well, you have to look at the underlying mental health issues that this person is currently dealing with for them to seek those alternative activities or vices as relief, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, which is something.
I like the point. I like the connection between mental health and substance abuse, because in most of the conversation we tend to have, we tend to neglect the aspect of drug abuse that's been linked to mental health issues or illnesses. For instance, if a person is, battling depression,
Yeah.
in most cases they feel like they can't live anymore. They have that feeling of, helplessness and hopelessness here.
Yeah.
So the only thing they tend to, go to perhaps is to maybe abuse drugs just to, suppress the feeling that they feel at a particular time. But in most cases, that doesn't even help,
It
because
doesn't.
after doing that, you go back to your old, situation or, feelings.
And
Yeah.
just to add on to that perspective, there's also the fact that certain people go through and take these roots as solutions because of the current environments that they're in. With mental health, if people cannot talk about their emotions, if people cannot regulate or express themselves and deal with things in an environment that is accommodating for them, they tend to withdraw. And you know, emotions can be very overwhelming, especially negative emotions and negative thoughts can lead you in a really dark place. So again, there's the way we need to look at these things when we look at people like, okay, why? We have to ask the questions why first, and we also have to ask the questions around what can we do to help these people, because nobody wakes up and wants to end their life. There are certain things that lead them there that we need to look into and find solutions to help people dealing with those things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I would like us to bring it down to Zambia, because we are having this particular conversation here, right in Zambia, Lusaka, Zambia.
Yeah.
Currently, things are not moving well economically. There's a lot of stress, a lot of things going on. And one doctor said one of the causes of suicide, more especially in men, is debt.
Yep.
Yeah. When they have so much debt, they don't have any other way to get relief. So what they do is just end their lives.
It's true. Funny enough, I will share. Like a friend was. This is a male friend that opened up to me. Like, okay, you know what? It's really hard for us because at some point I'm a student. I need to take care of my school, take care of my expenses and stuff like that, and it gets overwhelming. And like I said before, when you're not in an environment that allows you to open up, because there's this stigma with males. It's like if you show your emotions, if you show you're unable, then you're not man enough. Then society thinks you're weak. All those type of things lead people to think, okay, the only way I can escape this is if I commit suicide. But they need to realize that they're not alone and there are other solutions to these problems. For example, the economy right now is in a really bad space. It really is. And a lot of people are dealing with hard times. People are trying to get by. Students, even myself, I'm trying to get by. And everyday life gets expensive. But if I have an environment that is allowing for me to express like I am doing right now and saying, like, things are hard. What do we do?
Yeah.
Solutions are better. They come easy, and then people can pitch in. They can do this, they can do that, and solutions start to come up, and you can move forward with life. But if you are unable to share your state, if you're unable to share your thoughts, your struggles, you don't get the help that you need. And this is one of the stigmas I see, like with men, debt, being being unable to provide for your family is a big issue.
Sure.
It's not something small, Every man wants to be able to provide for their family, and when they fail to, it's like a dent on your self-esteem. It's like, oh, my self-respect comes from being able to hold this title as a provider.
Yeah.
And we understand that takes a toll on someone, especially if they're going through that process
More
by
especially
themselves.
us men, because actually I was sitting down here with a psychologist, and he mentioned the biological makeup of a man is that we need power.
Yeah.
We don't need power. So in a place where you're supposed to provide for, let's say, your family, and then you are unable to do that because of maybe some other constraints, financial, of course, muscle is not okay there. You feel like you are deprived of that, can I say manliness?
Yeah.
You don't have the power anymore. You feel like you are just nothing. And that can actually take a big toll on us as men,
And that's a huge stigma that has to be dealt with in both the men community and society at large. Because at the end of the day, in as much as you're a man, you're a person.
Yeah.
And as a person, you are entitled to mental health. You are entitled to a safe space. You are entitled to your emotions and your fears. And the reason why most men are struggling in this state, like I've said over and over, is they feel they cannot be accommodated if they're in that space. So if I don't have money, no one will respect me. If I say I cannot provide, I would not be held in high regard. I will have no power, which is a big issue. But what is the worth of hiding and staying in that state and finding yourself contemplating suicide than actually opening up and getting help from people? Which one is better?
Can we also take this to the society?
Yeah, it is.
Because I think the society also is like really putting a little pressure on men
Yeah.
per se. Okay, for now let me speak to men. Like it's really putting a little pressure on men.
Yeah.
For instance, if I walk up to a girl or lady to say, I want to marry you, the first thing she'll ask is like,
Can you provide?
exactly.
Can you take care of me?
Yeah.
And it's in the female's nature. They want security, they want financial stability and all that stuff. But like I would say, even if you're approaching that girl or that woman to be with, you should be able to communicate your weakness. If you're finding yourself in a relationship or in a space where you're not able to be real with someone, your mental health is already at stake. You cannot always be able to meet someone's needs and wants, things are hard. So you need to communicate to say, look, my capabilities start from here and then here. If I'm going to look after you, I'm going to do this part and this is what I can do. So it's either that partner is willing to fit into that bracket or walk away and find someone that they can fit into. So again, it's like, open up, guys. Talk about these things so that you can get the help. Even with relationships, I feel like the struggle is, I don't know if you've heard the saying where people go like, go for your type or go for someone within your means.
Yeah.
That is true.
Okay.
Why are you stressing yourself in the first place to go for someone you cannot,
So do you have to force yourself to go for somebody, which is your type, but type?
Yeah.
But in an actual sense, that's not the person you want.
Well, why would you want something that you can't have? Already that is a problem.
It's a desire.
It's a desire
Yeah.
So men want stuff they can't have. Already you're giving yourself issues you shouldn't be dealing with. But it's
Okay.
good to go after things.
Yeah. Perhaps somebody that is watching out there and is
Yeah.
wondering what we're talking about. Would you like to define what suicide is, just for us, for somebody that is watching, just to have an understanding of what this is?
Also, with suicide, I'll just put it in a very simple term.
Sure.
So with suicide, you find yourself contemplating taking your own life, ending things, you're overly overwhelmed. So it's like a state of mind where someone just starts thinking, you know what, I'm going to end my own life. Those are thoughts of death, thoughts of
Suicidal
ending
ideation,
it.
yeah.
Yes. So that is the simplest way I could explain what suicide is. It's just thoughts. So when someone commits suicide, you know that they have ended their life abruptly.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have ended their life. But when someone is contemplating suicide, they're thinking about ending their life. So that is the simplest way I could explain what suicide is.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are some of the common or the most common mental health illnesses that are linked to suicide?
To highlight a few, you have major depressive disorder,
Yeah.
you have schizophrenia, you have anxiety disorders, and you also have substance abuse. Yeah, so those are pretty much quite linked to suicide and borderline disorder as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I would like you to speak to depression. A person that is battling depression, of course, the symptoms are that sometimes, or let me not say sometimes, they tend to lose hope in life. They tend to, lose interest in things they normally enjoy doing. At what point can we tell, so this person that is, battling depression perhaps is contemplating committing suicide?
Well, in most cases,
What could be the signs?
yeah, in most cases, people in the States actually talk about it. They actually go like, it would be nice to just die today. Like, it would be a good thing to just disappear. Those they're contemplating it and they're saying it out loud. So most people would say it out loud, like, it would be nice just to die, like to just disappear for a bit. There would be those statements. Another common thing would be just generally withdrawing from society. This is someone that used to be bubbly, outgoing, and then all of a sudden they're just not doing those things anymore. They want to be left alone. They don't want to be with family. Sometimes you can actually sense when someone is giving away valuable things. It's like they're giving away money, like they're saying goodbye, they're giving the valuables away. Or when there are these talks that they're having that just express that they're feeling hopeless and helpless. Those are clear signs that someone is definitely depressed or thinking about committing suicide. Yeah.
Okay, so the language of them, or should I say the language of saying, it would be good just to take off, I mean, just take my life and have some peace. Those could be some of the signs. But again, how do we know that this person is like really serious about what they're saying? Because sometimes we tend to look at these conversations we have with people and be like, just one of those conversations. Perhaps this person is not even serious. How do we know that this one is really meaning what they're saying?
So like the telltale signs, withdrawing,
Okay.
major. There are patterns, there's a way people know Esther, for an example. If all of a sudden Esther just has decided to say, like, I'm not going to go outside, I don't want to be around people anymore, she starts taking to alcohol, she starts doing drugs,
Yeah.
obviously something is wrong there. So
Yeah.
if they cannot say it outright, you will notice significant behavioral changes in that show that, okay, this person is not okay right now. Why are they taking drugs? Why are they spending so much time alone? And sometimes they'll even tell you, like, oh, I don't think life is going anywhere. They may not tell you they want to take their life, but they will express hopelessness. Like, they would just be like, things are not okay. Like, even with the economy, there are people that are actually saying, the economy is bad, and then there are other people that are saying, vintu vai pakavetinga chite ife chama che wafa. And you forget, like, but if you pay attention, that's the thing with depressive, like the mental health, you need to pay attention to people's behaviors, patterns, words. You need to pay attention to their thoughts. And the only way you can hear someone's thoughts is when you observe their behavior and their language. Day to day life experiences can highlight and tell you to say, this person is not okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
But can you share any personal experiences or stories of individuals who have struggled with mental health and suicide?
Well, wow, I cannot really like share the stories because they're confidential.
Okay.
I do know that there are several people that have come out publicly sharing their struggles with substance abuse, their struggles with mental health and suicide. There are quite a number, even in Zambia, like celebrities or fellow mental health advocates that have come out and been like, look, I struggled with this. I, for one, struggled with anxiety, especially in the first years of my education. I was struggling with thinking, am I going to make it? Am I not going to make it? Will I get a job afterwards? Will I have a life?
More especially if you have the scholarship, program.
Yeah,
on
you have all those things. Oh yeah, if you
Yeah.
have to maintain a certain reputation, it's a lot of work. So you find that all those struggles do exist in the real, and people are talking about them. And even for, like, I've just openly shared, like, oh, I struggled with anxiety for quite some time, and it was very numbing. It was very paralyzing because you feel you can't do anything about anything, and you're just stuck there. And if I did not have the environment or the people that came up and went like, okay, what's going on, Esther? You're not like this, I would still have stayed in that state, and it would have been really bad. Yeah.
Speaking to anxiety, or are there physical manifestations that we can look out for apart from the language?
Clear physical manifestations of anxiety.
Do you care to share? Do you care to share?
There's so that during the midst of dealing with anxiety, I would also have panic attacks. And the thing with panic attacks is they vary.
Yeah.
I would have difficulty breathing. Just getting out of bed would be a problem. Maybe you just feel sick. Your body can't move. You have muscle spasms. You have cramps, and you just have this weakness, fatigue, because you're spending so much energy on trying to deal with these emotions that are within you. You're constantly tired, and you just can't think straight. So it manifests physically, and you're just like, I'm sick, but you don't know what you're sick of. Yeah.
I've gotten that answer so many times. How are you, bro? I'm not okay. What's wrong? I don't know.
Yeah. That's why that's why we're talking about mental health, because in as much as it's not a physical thing where I can go to the hospital like, okay, I have a wound, it's bleeding, bandage it. It's a serious thing, because people are dealing with these issues. People are going through these things and they're manifesting in different ways. Some people don't know how to deal with them, others have learned how to deal with them. But the good thing is when you have people that share the stories, I don't know if there's someone there who's listening and like, oh, I have anxiety. I feel the way she's felt before. Sometimes I don't feel like getting out of bed. Sometimes I feel like life is not going so well. I'm shaking, I'm sweating, and I'm frozen in time. Like I'm there, but I'm not there. It's okay. And the more the earlier you actually identify that, the easier it is for you to get the help. And you'll be like, okay, I'm worried about this. Why am I worried about it? And you learn to regulate those emotions. You learn to vocalize. You learn to deal with the negative thoughts that bring that emotion in, and then you get stronger. You do get stronger.
Great.
Yeah.
Getting back to suicide, what role does trauma play in the link between mental health and suicide?
Oh, trauma is a big thing. You know, there are people that have been abused. There are people that have lost loved ones. There are people that have been neglected by society. And when you have mental health issues and you're going through that, it becomes like a matchstick to like to a bushfire. Like it just sets everything ablaze, because when you have mental health issues and you have trauma, you people suffer from PTSD. We have people that go into major depression, like the same thing I talked about, anxiety. All those things can happen when you have trauma, and it becomes like a really it's even worse now because you have these experiences you're constantly dealing with. So trauma is a big issue, and it is linked to mental health, and also can also lead to suicide. Because imagine someone that has been abused that hasn't dealt with those emotions. They might have issues like PTSD. Yeah, that set them off every single day. Every single day something happens and they're triggered by it, and they go relapse into those emotions, and it's exhausting, and it can be really bad.
I would like us to dwell on this part a little bit because I'm getting worried, to be honest, with the cases we receive in media where we're having reports that this person was raped, this and that. Of course, previously we had issues of sodomy and all that. But now, of course, we're receiving so many cases regarding rape case. What's your take on this? Are we in the society where this is becoming a new normal? Because I see that it's too much. Day in, day out, we're receiving, reports.
Yeah, really sad
Yeah,
news.
a child was defiled. There's a rape case here and there. Of course, we are trying by all means to address this, but are we doing the right thing? And if we are, where are we, missing it?
So I'm going to drive this back to relation to mental health issues and the victims of these situations. So in as much as these activities are happening and they're not right and people are getting hurt in the process, the media bringing it out is bringing about this awareness where people are like, why are these things happening? These things should not be happening. But I'm not like an expert in that area. But all I would have to say in relation to mental health issues for these individuals that have been abused and have gone through this type of experiences, we do need to put in place programs for these types of cases in order for these people to actually get better and function well in society, because most of them, it just becomes something that you're living with. If worse off for individuals that are constantly or currently still are going through their abuse and have not opened up about it, or they have not found a way to like get out of that situation. We need to have programs. We need to come up with an initiative to actually help rehabilitate these people.
Yeah,
Yeah, because it's really sad. It really is.
it really is indeed. How can we address the stigma surrounding mental health illness in society to encourage more open conversation?
So I believe the best thing with dealing with stigma is raising awareness about an issue. So the more we educate people and tell them about mental health, and we realize what it is and what it isn't, it becomes easier to communicate. And the thing with communication is you're able to house the community. You're able to create an environment for
Yeah,
people
yeah.
to feel safe to express themselves. People feel safe to get help, and also just increase access to mental health care. The thing is, in as much as people open up, they need to go to the professionals. They need to
Exactly.
seek help. We need to make these things accessible for everyone. Like
Yeah.
the same way I can go to the clinic and get medical attention if I have a wound, if I have a headache, it should be the same way I can get medical attention when I have mental health issues. Yeah.
I think the problem there, as we mostly, understand in the state you're in, mostly we tend to think a person that is not mentally okay is actually a person perhaps who is or is a physical manifestation perhaps of psychosis.
Yeah.
But that's not the case. The people that are having depression, but in the corner you can't even see that they're having depression.
Yeah.
Some people have social anxiety. You can't see that. So perhaps it's about us having self introspection, knowing ourselves, being self-aware first, because I can't go to a doctor if I don't know that I'm having stomach pain.
Yeah.
I have to know first that I have stomach pain for me to go to a doctor and ask, say, okay, I feel like this. Maybe
True.
what's the problem? We get it right. So I feel we need to be more aware of ourselves before we even turn to any other person. Yeah.
I mean, the self-awareness also is really important. Same thing with self-care when we talk about people being able to understand and take care of themselves. But it's something that has, I feel, with my, like with the experience I've had with the topic around mental health, is that people do not know that these are issues they should deal with.
Yeah, yeah.
They do not know. They just be like, okay, I feel this way. Someone is depressed for a really long time. They just feel sick and tired. They're unable to function well in the house or at work. They just think like it's a new normal, like it's okay, because they're not really been like they have not really been properly educated about
Yeah,
these
so
things.
knowledge is
Yeah.
missing that area.
Yeah. So we
Okay.
need to teach the people. We need to raise awareness that, okay, if you feel this way, this is what it is. If you notice this, the same way we talk about when we were talking about COVID, when we're talking about cholera, when we're talking about other like malaria.
And this new thing which is here now, influenza, I
Yeah,
don't know what it can bring.
the people who don't know it, but because there's news about it, people are now
Yeah.
aware, and because
Sure.
people are aware, they can see the symptoms and go like, I need to go to the hospital. The same thing with mental health. If people are aware of what the symptoms are, what the signs are, they're able to go like, okay, now I need help.
Yeah.
You know?
In the same line of, or should I say, vein of raising mental health awareness, social media seems to be playing a very important role. But I was having a conversation, I think, last week regarding the right conversations around mental health, because so many people are having conversations, but are they having the right conversations about mental health? What would you say is the right way to raise mental health awareness on social media?
First of all, the correct definition of what mental health is really important. Once people know the distinction between mental health and mental health issues
Yeah.
and mental health illnesses, then we can move forward with the conversation. Because sometimes when you're having the conversation around mental health, people assume it's mental illnesses, or people assume mental health is the same as mental health illnesses, which is those are totally different things. But once we are aware of what these things are
And the distinction
and the
that's there.
distinction around these things, we are more guided in the conversations we have about mental health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I've been stressing. I think I've been stressing that point most of the times when I'm on this show. I feel it is important for us to like really draw the line between mental health and mental health issues or illnesses, because this is the reason why we're having people stigmatizing mental health, because they do not really understand what mental health is.
Sure.
But when we give them the proper and right information about what mental health is, I think they'll be able to draw the line between mental health and mental health illnesses or issues. Yeah, going back to the question of social media, do you think we are doing enough with this platform that we have right now, which is social media, in terms of raising mental health awareness and also just providing solutions? Because I believe, a conversation about mental health shouldn't always be about the causes and what mental health is, but also providing a solution to that problem. Yeah.
Well, with social media, there are mixed results. With social media, everything's a little bit all over the place. But I think in comparison to a few years back, 10 years back, we have made some progress, especially in our country. We have, because now there are young people like me that are fully aware and active in pushing self-care, mental health, well-being, and all those things, all
You're
those
working on
topics.
SDG number 3, is it?
Yeah, people are now like, okay, we need to know what is it, what encompasses well-being, what encompasses mental health,
Yeah.
how are we going to do these things? So you have young people that have come up, and that's a good look. When you're at the grassroots, when young people are involved, this thing isn't going to die out.
Sure.
Because there's so many of us, and information spreads quicker with us. So even on social media, we've come to the realization that young people are open about talking about mental health. So we are really doing really good on that area. But the thing you've highlighted is we can't keep having the same conversations.
Yeah.
We need to have solutions. We
And
need
the
to have,
progressive conversation.
yeah, we need to have progressive solutions. We need to have these things put in place. What is happening in that area? So now this is when organizations, government comes in and goes like, okay, we're gonna have to train these people.
Yeah.
So with training is you have more professional and you have more sound, well-learned people able to give advice that is needed, and not just like, wrapped up stuff, generalized stuff, because everyone that is dealing with mental health has different issues. It's a whole umbrella.
Oh, yeah.
Everything is different. You can specialize, you can talk about this, you can talk about that. And when you have that, we move forward. Because when you generalize mental health, it's not helping anybody. But if you can personalize it and everyone becomes like well informed about a specific subject, we're able to form solutions around that and move forward.
In the previous episode of this, TV show, I actually asked a therapist the question: do you feel there is need for, the Zambian education system to incorporate or integrate mental health in the education system?
There is such a need, because when you do that, you're actually increasing the thing we're talking about. Increasing access to mental health care
Yeah.
means that people are aware that it exists and they're well educated about it. Other developed countries have programs, have textbooks, have shows, have tutorials, and all those things, guidelines to help people deal with these issues. And if us as Zambians brought that in our education system, we would have young people that are aware, and maybe it would even decrease the percentage of people dealing with these issues in the future. Yeah.
What are some of the effective treatment or therapies for mental health conditions that can help reduce suicidal ideation?
So with the treatments, there are several, but there's some that are very at the top. So for example, you have cognitive behavioral therapy. With this one, it's like you're teaching people to deal or regulate the negative thoughts. Because sometimes the thing with suicide, it's a thought. It starts as a thought, like I want to do this, I'm gonna kill myself. So with CBT, you have people being trained to change their way of thoughts. Why are you thinking negative? Let's deal with that negative thought. Let's make it more positive. There are those things. And then you also have medication. You have dialect behavior therapy. That is a more like personalized, specific one, maybe to deal with issues like borderline disorders. And then you also have group therapy. You have family therapy. You have other there are so many. So the ones I've mentioned, like CBT, DBT, you have medication as well, because there's some people that are dealing with anxiety that do need to take some medication. It's the same thing with schizophrenia patients. You need to be on medication. There are several others, but those are the things I've come across that are very common when it comes to dealing with mental health issues, the treatments that are very common, yeah.
What would you think or would you say about the early interventions on suicide? What could be some of the measures we can put in place that can help to intervene at the appropriate and right time to prevent suicide?
So, in the beginning, we talked about what is how can someone be able to tell?
Yeah.
So the thing is, when you deal with a mental health issue or with suicide in the early stages, it's less overwhelming because those emotions tend to grow over time. So when we deal with it at the very start, someone is able to regulate themselves and go like, oh, this thought is not a good thought, let me work on it. And it's a lot easier when it's done when it's progressive, you know? So I think one of the things that can be done, it's to educate people to be able to tell the signs and be able to seek professional help immediately when they see those things are happening, and just encourage people to destigmatize mental health. It's
Yeah.
okay to feel a certain way. They should feel safe to open up, and they should be able to gain access to mental health professionals as soon as possible. That is why it's a big issue to have accessibility to mental health institutions the same way we have access to regular health institutions.
Yeah, I think the issue of access now, takes me to the next question,
Oh,
which is
okay, yeah.
basically, how can we support individuals with mental health conditions to reduce their risks of suicidal behavior? Of course, that can speak perhaps to the facilities that are available where they can get help, access information about, how they can prevent suicide and all that. Yeah, would you share more lights on that?
Well, the best support as well, it could be even at home. We have to create a culture that is accommodating for people to express their emotions. Same
Yeah,
thing with the men.
exactly.
They need to feel safe to open up without being judged. So we should be able to at least create an environment where people can express themselves without judgment, first of all. And once those people open up to us about their emotions, we should be able to guide them towards professional help. And once they get the professional help, we should make it easily accessible for them. So the thing with therapy, I don't know how other people, like it's really difficult to come across therapy.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it is. It really is to find a really good therapist or to actually pay for one or to, like, for the average Zambian, it's not something you can just wake up and go like, I've gone to the clinic to get mental health treatment. I have mental health issues. I'm going to the clinic. I'm going to get treatment. It's not that easy. So we need to make it accessible. So the first thing first, in order to support people that are dealing with mental health issues, that are contemplating suicide, let's create an environment that enables these people to open up without judgment. Let us guide them towards seeking professional help. Let us make these institutions, these treatments, therapy, and all these things that are tied to this accessible, easily accessible. Let us raise awareness about these things, and let us just remove the stigma from, mental health. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. And if
Yeah,
you have
yeah.
the issues that come with mental health, it's okay to talk about them.
Yeah, actually, I don't think there's anybody that has lived on Earth that has never experienced a
No.
mental health issue.
No,
Yeah,
even our Lord suffered.
yeah,
He had some stuff where he was like, God, can you take the cup away from me? He was
exactly.
dealing with something. So who are we to be
Yeah,
like, I can't deal with this. I can't be dealing with this. This is not. No,
yeah.
no, 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 no. You should get help.
Yeah, I think talking of help, I think there's an organization that is actually providing free therapy services to people.
That is amazing.
Yeah,
Please share with the people out there so that they can get a hold of these organizations because they're in need. They
yeah.
are a
So
necessity. They are.
yeah, so about that point where you can get help actually regarding mental health issues or illness by simply checking in on the Check-In TV show. You can actually follow us on the social media page, Facebook page, which is the Check-In TV show, and also you can be able to call that number or text the number that is showing on the screen. And of course, we'll be able to direct you to those people that are providing free therapy services. Yeah, coming to you, Esther, and asking you, I think, the third last question.
I love questions.
I've seen there. What are some of the common myths or misconceptions about the link between mental health and suicide?
I think the common one should be that people believe that if you're suicidal today, you're suicidal for the rest of your life.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, you know, I don't know if you've come across people
Yeah.
where that they give you that feeling like, oh, that one, they wanted to kill themselves, so they'll probably want to do it again. But no, that's not true.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's also the thing with, you know, when you hear people, when you hear people talk about being hopeless or contemplating suicide, people are just like, ah, they probably won't do it. They
Yeah.
might.
Exactly.
They need help. So if you hear someone in that position, you need to quickly act on it and go like, bro, what's going on? Let's have this talk. And then from that talk, you'll be able to assess like, okay, let me send you to go check in because you definitely have some issues that you need to sort out.
Yeah.
You know? So most of the myths are, people think you can't heal from mental health illnesses. Okay, there is a broader aspect to some that need constant treatment, but you can be, you can get over them.
Yeah.
You can defeat them. You can make it out. And the thing is, pay attention to the signs. Pay attention. People think you can just like, oh, bakamba chabe, it's not true, says Avichita, but they will end up doing it.
Yeah.
You know?
Actually, I was speaking to a doctor. Should be 3 or 4 weeks ago. I wanted advice because I had somebody that was really battling with like really depression big
Yeah.
time. So I wanted to find out how I can help this person because this person had some suicidal ideation. I could tell by the language they were using, also how they were just behaving. So I called the doctor trying to find out how I can help this person. And one thing that came out like really clear to me was these people need to hear somebody encourage them and validate their thought. Because the moment they feel like you're not understanding them, that pushes them to doing that. But when they feel like, okay, yeah, this person is actually understand what I'm going through, then they tend to sit back and rethink what they were thinking of doing. So there's some kind of validation that these people need.
Do you believe me? It's the question.
Yeah.
Like, imagine opening up to someone about something you feel so vulnerable about, and you feel like they're not believing you. It makes them even more distraught. They're like, oh, so what's the use if I even open up? They close up even more, and then they withdraw, and it just gets worse for them. And that is not what we want, you know.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, when someone opens up to you about an issue like suicide, or they are dealing with a mental illness, like, I'm too anxious, no, I'm panicking, pay attention and give a listening ear. And once you get into the details, you can actually tell like, oh, okay, no, you need help. Yeah, this is real. So those are the myths. Like, people would just go like,
Yeah, and that's the thing that people don't want to hear. People that are in that situation, they don't want to hear somebody contradict what they're saying.
Yeah, it's more of empathy.
Yeah.
I should be able to meet you at the level that you are on in that particular state that you're in. So if someone comes to me and tells me, Esther, I'm dealing with this issue, I don't know what to do, the worst thing I would do is tell them, come on, you're strong. You can't be saying those things. They literally came to you and told you that
Yeah.
they're not okay. Why would you tell them
They're
they're
actually
okay?
expecting you to understand the
Yeah, they're like,
situation they
they're
are in.
expecting you
Yeah.
to say, what is it? What is wrong? What is happening? Can you talk to me?
Let's have a
Yeah, let's have a
conversation about
conversation.
this,
And
yeah.
most on the receiving end, you should be more of a listener.
Yeah.
And you ask the right questions. Like, if someone is telling you, I'm going through something, like, for example, we're in a place where the economy is hard, right? And someone comes to you like, oh, things are not okay at home, I don't feel great, I'm in so much debt, and I don't think I'm gonna make it out. I'm contemplating taking my life. The last thing you wanna tell them is, oh, come on, you're not the only one. No, why would you do that? That is someone that has come to you as an individual about a personal issue. Narrow it down to them, narrow down your focus to them, and forget about everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On that point, I would like you to look into that camera and speak to somebody that is at the verge of losing hope in life and perhaps contemplating on committing suicide. What could be your words to that person after you've done that? Or perhaps you should start with a person that would be in a position to encourage or speak to somebody that is in a position of having, suicidal ideation. Yeah, speak to people.
I mean, if you're tuned into the show and you're thinking, you're contemplating, oh, suicide, I don't think life is going to get any better. Life does get better, and I encourage you to open up to people that you trust, to people that you can be yourself with, and get the help that you need, because life is hard, but you don't need to give up on it. And there are people that are willing and more than willing to actually help you out of that situation. Yeah.
Thank you. You've heard it. The conversation we've been having this particular afternoon borders on the topic, is suicide linked to mental health issues? And I hope you've learned something, and I hope you've got your answer as we're having this particular conversation. I've been your host, Blessings KN, and of course, my guest for this particular afternoon or this episode has been Esther Mate, who is a mental health advocate. Like I always say, it is not $1 million question, but $1 million voice. Check it out next time.